welcome to Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 17 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hello.
And DJ.
Howdy.
Today we will be talking about Season 2, Episode 6 of Lone Star, titled Everyone and Their Brother. As usual, a reminder that we're not recapping the episodes, we're just talking about the many, many points that stood out to us.
Yeah. Yes.
So let's get talking. Alright, conjoined twins. I was not expecting that to be at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah. I vaguely remember this being like a storyline that was going to happen. I forget where I heard about it from, but I just remember hearing about it. But I wasn't expecting this, but I actually liked that this is the first scene. I liked how the episode started. I just feel like this scene made the rest of the episode flow. I don't know. I just really liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
And it was, and the whole the title of the show is Everybody and Their Brother, so it's makes sense to have conjoined twins. It was. I don't know if I'll ever look at peanut butter the same way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I hate peanut butter, to the point where I was watching this and I wanted to throw up. That's how much I hate it. I can't stand the smell of it. I can't stand, just the thought about it. We have peanut butter that people can use at work, you to forget your lunch, and I'm just people use it, and I'm like, can you not? I hate the smell so bad. I literally just want to vomit everywhere.
I don't necessarily mind peanut butter, but it's the texture. It sticks to the back of my throat, and so it activates my gag reflex.
Yeah.
And so I can't eat it.
Yeah.
Because then we're all going to have a disaster on our hands.
Yeah.
Right.
I like
all the... Yeah. And it kind of, as I grew up, lost its appeal to me a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, this was this whole call was not crazy to me, but the choking and obviously it's peanut butter, and then being oh, I haven't said a word to my brother in 2 years, and you're attached to him. It's not you can just walk away.
Yeah, you can't really ignore him.
It's I can't even imagine that, but that was just funny, and it was fun. It wasn't really funny, but situationally it was funny when Grace was oh, get behind him, and
it's no,
he's I can't do that, and she's oh, you're conjoined twins, okay.
She was oh, no, things just got a little more difficult. Did anyone else just feel a little grossed out with the vacuum cleaner going into his mouth?
Oh, everyone said that, but I didn't think it was not appealing. I would not want to see that again, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world to me.
That's not. It wasn't that bad, but I was a little gross. Yeah, just because. At least stuff that goes in our vacuum cleaner, I would not want that thing anywhere near my mouth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, honestly.
But honestly, it was ingenious.
Yeah.
So brilliant.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I just, didn't look. I did look, but I didn't look as intently during this, because I was just okay, this is just oh.
Between the peanut butter and the vacuum cleaner, it's okay. This is going great.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this scene, and I love how the brothers' first words were oh, so we're talking again.
I know, right?
He was yes, we're talking again. Nothing like a near-death experience to, get that moving again. Or make them, further not talk.
Yeah. And then this leads into my next... one of my next favorites, TK and Judd. Yes, it's been forever.
I love these two.
Yes, it was just these next TK and Judd scenes are some of my favorites. TK's trying to challenge himself and to get his firefighter, fire specialist. And it's funny because my friend and I were talking about his new journey, his new promotion or whatever, and we're okay, what can this be? And she was well, like the next level he could possibly go to is to learn how to drive the truck. And I'm like, I don't see that happening. But like, okay. And then like I saw this and I was just like, okay, no, we're too soon in the episode for this to be the final thing. But I liked it, and it was just funny. Because like he drives up with him like failing at driving. I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Which, granted, the truck. There's a reason you have to get your license to drive that truck. Yeah. It's not easy.
Yeah,
and it's completely different from like any other sort of car because you have so many other different things. And so I'm like, okay, like I can sympathize with him having to learn, but at the same time, this is really hysterical.
It was so funny.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, like my favorite part in all of this was like in this specific part because there's others, but my favorite part in this part was when Jed was like, all right, take a minute, take a breath, and ask yourself what you forget. And TK's like, the point of any of this? And I'm like, oh.
TK, that's a mood, though.
That's me.
Yes.
Like, okay, I want that in GIF, and I'm just going to use that constantly because...
What's the point of any of this? Yes.
What'd you forget the point of any of this?
And I just wanted, like, Jed being like, hey, you were the one that begged me to teach you how to do this because you wanted a challenge. I'm like, ooh, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. Didn't Ronan say that in this episode there were two of his favorite scenes? One was with Jim and one was with Rob.
Yes.
So this was probably the scene.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm certain on it and stuff. And then
this was a really good scene. Well, the scene in the truck, and then also the next scene we get.
Well, yeah. It's like
Well, we find out that TK has learned about the baby.
Yeah.
Actually, the previous night. And I love that they like did the flashback and everything, which I would have been shocked if they hadn't. But just the way it was done, his face, just like
that would have been me.
Yes. No, that would have been me too. Like if my parents told me that they were having a kid like tomorrow, I would be TK. I would be like, I'm glad.
How's that possible?
Yeah,
and they're just sitting there with a big grin, like waiting for his reaction, and he's just looking between them, like, okay, let me get this straight here.
Yeah, and his face was so perfect. Like I couldn't have.
Oh, I know.
I am so glad that they didn't make it out into this whole ordeal. I feel like if he was very furious, it would have been a little pathetic. Like
honestly, my initial reaction was right. I didn't think they'd do. I didn't think he'd be a drama queen about it.
Yes,
because that's not TK.
Yeah,
he can be a little bit dramatic, but not that much.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect it, but I feel like a lot of people were.
I think a lot of people were wanting it.
I don't get that because, and I don't even predict that because, I feel like it'd be a little bit pathetic. Like it's not like he's a 5-year-old that doesn't want another sibling. Like he's a grown man. Like yes, he can be
who could be having the baby himself. Yeah, which I think he had a very good point with that.
He could be weirded out by it, but being very furious. I don't get that.
Honestly, I think he should. I think just through everything we see in the episode, he's just a little befuddled.
Yes, that's the perfect way to say it.
Yeah, he's
which
befuddled.
Is totally valid. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I've been thinking about it, and I just I think befuddled is a good description because he's not mad,
Mm-mm.
and we see later on him and his dad talk about it.
Yeah,
again, and
he admits it's weird for him.
Yeah,
and it should be.
Yeah, it should be. I'd be so weirded out if that happened in my life. Well, I'm glad it can't happen, but
I love how Judd was like, "So your pops has got some powerful stuff."
Oh, yes,
and TK was like, "Really? That's your takeaway?
That's your takeaway?"
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I immediately started thinking of the bull semen factory.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god.
That's the bull stuff.
Parallel. Not really, but kind of.
Kinda. And so I was just cracking up during the entire thing, just going, okay, yeah, all I could think of is that episode.
He's like, yeah, and he's like, no, I'm just saying it's impressive. He's like, and then Judd was one of my favorite parts is like after this when Judd was like, I'm just saying it's natural to resent the baby. Trust me, I got 3 brothers. What do you think? It was peace in the valley every time a rider boy came along. And TK's like, how did you deal with it? And he's like, I didn't have to because I was a baby. And I was...
Okay, I'll be honest. I was surprised by that. I pictured him as an eldest.
Oh, me?
Damn.
No, I was like, this explains so much to me. Like, this, I was not surprised at all. I was like, this explains so much. And, like, I told, like, some of my friends this, and they're like, yeah, it does. And I'm like, maybe this is because, like, half of the men in my life are youngest siblings. So maybe that's why it is for me. But I got so much humor and joy out of that, which I probably shouldn't have, but I did.
Yeah, just like, of the youngest of 4 siblings, I'm like, he struck me as so much like an older middle or the eldest kid. And so I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Well,
but honestly, I would love to see Judd begin simply for the Ryder household scene.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they have to bring his family in at some point. Like, we met his dad, but we have to meet his brothers. We're meeting everyone else's family little by little. So
And we need to hear more about what happened, like, in that whole family.
Yeah, because there's...
Because, like, we're getting snatches, but not enough to put together a full picture.
Yeah, there's so much untold stuff in that household. I'm just like, please give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like every episode we get a little glimpse. So it'd be nice to have like a full picture.
Yeah.
And so the next is the RV pulling into 126. And at first I thought it was an emergency.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, somebody is pulling in because like they're having an emergency. But then like when Paul's mom and his sister hopped out, I'm like, oh, I'm loving this.
Yeah, okay, so first when it's backing in, I'm like, who do these people think they are? The nerve.
I'm like, I couldn't think of any other reason other than like, well, they can't exactly escape very easily in the RV, but like some kids having fun or somebody who is like having an emergency, because I've seen that in other shows before.
Same.
But I just, I love how they're all like, you can't park here.
Yeah, and they're trying to block
and they just keep
him.
parking.
And Mateo's the one to go on the window and be like, hey.
Yes.
And then she gets out when Marjan's like, hey ma'am, you can't park here. And she's like, why?
Oh my gosh. I loved the mom immediately.
Same.
Yes, me too.
So much. Like, okay, I can see why Paul is as cool as he is.
Yeah, I know.
Because, like, with a mama like that,
Yeah, the sister, not so much, like, at first. Like, I was just like, I don't like her. There was just, like, obviously there was this weird, like, vibe there, so you kind of got the vibe that maybe not that she wasn't accepting, I don't think my mind went there, but maybe that I don't know, like, that she was, like, their relationship was distant.
To be honest, I kind of called that there was something going on there. Just mentally. I don't think I said it in, like, a podcast or something, but I called that there was something going on there, and I guess it had something to do with him being trans. I thought it was a little more towards, like, transphobia, but even then I'm like, there's something going on there. I don't process, and I didn't like her.
Yeah, no.
Especially since she couldn't call him his name.
Yeah,
and because she kept saying
really
P, I have, like, obviously I hope they never say, because that should be in the past, but can't help but wonder if Paul's dead name also started with a P.
Yeah, I thought that too.
And if so, like, that's a slap in the face.
That's where my mind went. Like, I didn't think it was that bad, but, like, whatever happened.
It clearly bothered him was the thing.
But then, like...
Basically, up until the end of the episode, where she grew a little bit on me, like, during the last 2 scenes, I just kept wanting to shake her.
Same.
Just, like...
Oh.
And also duct tape her.
Yes.
Because she needs to stop talking.
Yeah, I was like,
oh boy. And obviously, we'll get more into that later.
Yeah.
But I was immediately like, boy.
Yeah.
But,
And then Tommy and Nancy were interviewing candidates for the paramedic position, and I loved this.
Oh my
I loved this because, like, first of all, Tommy's the captain, paramedic captain, so she could literally just interview him herself. But, like, the fact that, like, Nancy was included in this because, like, Tommy said, they're basically like interviewing somebody to be a part of their family and stuff like that. So like that was perfect.
And I did like how they showed that Nancy was having a little bit of trouble, like, with the idea of fulfilling or like refilling Tim's position, which Tim was basically her brother, closer than her brother. But so I liked that they showed that, and honestly, I thought the whole interviewing the EMTs was funny.
Yeah, the little montage.
One passes out. One, I forget, like, there were several, like, some of them I kind of just, like, glanced over because I don't even remember. One, I remember the last one before the other guy, ran over Nancy's foot and breaks it, and I'm like, poor girl.
Didn't one get in a fight?
Yeah, one headbutted the guy that was trying to be there for the patient.
Yeah, I
wouldn't stand back.
I skipped through that part because my secondhand embarrassment was going so wacky, so I went to like choke them. But I was just like, I caught enough to be like, okay, something happened.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure from what I saw from the woman, like, okay, that was a fight.
Yeah, some of it was funny, though, because I was just like, this would happen. And then they get to the last guy. I can't remember his, like, actual name, but, like, basically, like, Tommy was reading off all these things about him.
Oh, Pierce.
Pierce something, yeah.
I've heard a lot of people just go, I liked him. I'm like, I
was going to call him something else. That Owen actually calls him later.
Coward? Yeah.
Coward? Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, yeah, he was.
And I knew as soon as he starts yakking, I'm like, okay, nobody has a perfect record.
If you have a perfect record, there's something wrong. Like, literally something
and nobody
wrong.
has a perfect record of anything, so that was a really sketchy, like, the fact that, like, basically Tommy said that he had a perfect record, and Nancy's like, he's probably a serial killer, and Tommy's like,
I'm like,
yes, and
But Tommy just being like, at this point, that doesn't disqualify him. And I started
when she said, I say we pull the trigger, and Nancy's like, I don't love that metaphor, but okay. And I was like, me. That just, like, gave me, like, TK being shot vibes.
Yes. I think, I don't know if this is the case, but I think maybe some people liked Pierce because they were hesitant about TK being a paramedic. And okay, I was too, and we'll get into that. But, I don't know, I can't see the reason anyone would like him. Is the thing. Like, there's nothing particularly charming
when
about
he first walked in, I was like, hey, maybe he'll be good.
At first he seemed solid.
That's the thing. I think that's what most people, like, that was the thing. Like, he seemed like, oh, maybe he'll be good part to the team. Oh, no, we were all wrong, you were all wrong, I don't know.
And honestly, I didn't know I couldn't really call what the problem was. But I was like, okay, did he just hide all the bodies of the people he lost? Or, like,
no.
Because, but he was a coward.
Yeah, we could just, say that.
Well, and, like, okay, there is some validity of people not going into a situation. But also, if you get into that job, you have to acknowledge you're gonna get yourself into those situations. And you can't back down from every single one of them.
Right.
So that's not the job.
I have words, but I'm saving until we actually get there. It's too soon.
Cool.
Right. Well, and in this moment, he says, the lieutenant governor gave me a scare last year, whatever. And I'm like, if you're working for the governor's office, why are you trying to get a regular EMT job?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Because he was a naval corpsman, and I'm like, what? Huh? Like, isn't that no offense to, like, first responders, but kind of a cushy job. Not really up his alley now to be an EMT.
Now, so what I don't get is, was he a new recruit or was he already a paramedic? Because he could have simply just gotten the call from the lieutenant governor.
He was like, I don't know. Maybe that was the case, but it's just
because that's what I got the impression of.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I kind of got the impression that he was like the personal medic for, like, I don't know. He totally could have just been called for the lieutenant governor.
I'm just now thinking about this, but I kind of got the vibe that these people that they were selecting were kind of like the people that were kind of like put in the batch and were kind of picked over and were maybe not like the best choice. They're kind of like floaters, and they're just kind of like trying to find the place, but like they're probably not gonna ever get a job, or at least get a good job or whatever. So that's kind of the vibe I got. That's probably most likely what it was.
And honestly, I really wonder how he made out in the field in another station, because you wash out if you don't come to terms with something like that. You're gonna wash out, and your team won't be able to depend on you, and you'll probably wash out because your team won't be able to depend on you. So I don't know, like I'm perfectly happy never hearing from him again, but also at the same time I just wonder. But you know what, we'll get to that. We'll get to the finale scenes on his story later.
So TK and Owen. So Owen basically like summons TK to his office.
Oh my God.
And like,
I was not expecting the power of attorney thing.
Okay, no, I wasn't expecting it, but like it all makes sense. And like, so basically Owen's signing over his power of attorney to TK because he's getting his last cancer surgery in 2 weeks,
which is something TK had been trying to talk him into for a while.
And it was just, I don't know, this scene was kind of, like not.
And TK was like happy to take this. Like, he was like, oh, yeah, of course. And honestly, I knew something was going to come up. And I just kind of wanted to hug him, like, prematurely, just like, I didn't know what would come up, but it was like, something's going to happen here.
So, like,
I wanted to slap Owen.
Everyone wanted to slap Owen this full episode. Like, I've talked to several people who have said that, and I'm like, yes, he had his moments. Like, I didn't want to slap him the whole episode, but 90% of the episode. But I think like the power of attorney thing, like TK being like, to me, why? And I'm just like, he's like, don't look so shocked. I put my life in your hands every day, and I love that. And
that's true,
I was like, true.
You know, I think everything that happened with Owen was simply because he didn't think his words through. Because, like, in this scene, you get him saying, I think TK was like, what changed your mind? He's like, well, I'm going to be a father.
Again?
And I'm like, I was like waiting for the again. I'm like, please say again.
He forgot a word, because I was like,
and TK looked like he'd been slapped.
He looked like, not like sad, like he just looked pissed off. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but Brian's tweet being like, I need you to say again. It was so, I saw that after, like a day after I watched the episode, and I was like, oh my God, that's like the best. And I'm like,
and Owen didn't even seem to catch his mistake.
Owen just,
it's I think like, I get your son's fully grown, but you're still a father. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed with the lack of TK Owen bonding this season. Because we had such a strong relationship last season. And they're completely neglecting that because there's the mom and the baby. And I'm like, come on. All we ever wanted was an Owen and TK relationship. We never asked for the mom. We never asked for the baby.
Yes, literally, that's why.
Like, I think a lot of people wanted to meet the mom. So I should say that.
It's
some people
not that I didn't want to meet her, because like I just don't like that she was basically brought in to like rekindle a relationship, and for them to like, I don't know if the baby was ever like a firm plan they had for a while, but I don't like that they basically, like, she was supposed to be brought in to visit her son after he was shot, and guess what she hasn't done? Visit with her son.
Right? We see one scene. One scene! Two scenes, actually, because
we haven't had solo scenes for basically until this episode. It's the first TK Owen solo scene we got, and we haven't got any solo scenes with Gwen and TK, and that is just, that is what irks me about all this moment. And like,
you're like, the show is neglecting the most important family unit right now.
Stop trying to make Gwen the top and Gwen and Owen the top. Like, that is not what we're here for, and it's getting like, it's getting on my nerves. Like, I'm not hoping for her to leave, but I'm also hoping for her to leave. I'm sorry, but
if that's what it takes for things to like get back to normal, then yes, I will take her leaving. But if she doesn't leave, they need to fix this. because I'm
Yeah,
really
same.
annoyed at
Like,
it.
I don't mind some of the things, but some of the things are really getting on my nerves, and we're 6 episodes in, and I'm getting irritated about just certain little things.
And like,
and I just,
oh, go.
I don't know. There's so many things. Like, we never really got a real clear picture about what TK's relationship with his mom was like.
He like didn't mention her ever in the first season.
Right. So when she came in, it was like, wow, they have a better relationship, Owen and her do, than ever was made clear either. So like, it's totally unexpected to have her and him be like best buddies, and then TK is kind of like left out in the cold. And you're right, Katie, like, she came to visit him and, ended up staying because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I'd like to make it clear, I love the season. I love what we're getting. I love all of it. There are just some storylines that aren't being nurtured right.
Yeah,
in my opinion, that's a good point. Because a lot of things are getting neglected, and those things are a lot of what made people fall in love with the show last season.
Right.
Like TK and Owen's relationship and stuff.
And I will say this episode is kind of, and a lot of people said this, it reminded them of season 1. And this isn't season 1, so I can understand it like branching off into something else, but there are some things that we actually desperately need.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
like, that's
I hope we have 8 more episodes of the season. So there's a lot that can happen. But it's like, I feel like some changes are imminent, and we'll talk about this like later on. But I feel like some stuff is really coming to a head soon. Because I don't know, I just get that feeling. And I don't know, I'm hoping it just turns out for the better.
And this scene, like, there's some parts where I was like, okay, but it was just like awkward. I'm also kind of like yes, like you see in later scenes, TK was kind of cold to Owen, but I also like how we didn't really see him like storm off and throw a tantrum, which is funny because TK says something like that later, so he thinks that he threw a tantrum, but like it was all warranted. He didn't, but like
honestly,
like.
Yeah. But it would have been immature,
exactly. Like,
right.
But he is a mature guy, and he's just he's doing the best he can. But I don't know, we'll talk more about this.
So then we get Paul having dinner with his sister and his mom.
I would just like to preface this with
same.
Oh yeah.
Just saying, and let me tell you why. As we get into the scene, she needed to stop saying the term sister. She never had a sister. And you could see that was wearing on Paul. And I get she was 9 when this happened. And kids don't understand stuff like that. Even if they've been like raised with definitions and stuff like that, they don't get it. But she is very much not 9, and she needed to leave the concept of a sister behind very long ago.
Like Paul basically being like, you can't even. My name's Paul. You can't even call me that. Like something like that. And I'm just like, this whole scene. Like I feel like the sister was just basically making like Paul being trans all about her. Like she's like, I can't do this, blah blah blah, like you left this, that, and I'm just like, shut up. It felt like you
killed her. And that was the thing. I was like,
wow.
I hated that. I don't know if this was supposed to represent siblings of
I feel like it was, because that's like, I've heard stories like this before.
And like, no offense to anybody who has had this kind of struggle with a sibling that's trans, but this is stupid.
It's really dumb. I don't like this, and the fact that this is like a real situation that happens really just sickens me. Like, it bothers me so much. I can't, like, and I'm like, as it should bother me, because that's just so wrong.
Yeah. And it's like, every time the word sister or her or she was mentioned, I was cringy. I was just like, please stop.
Yeah.
Just please stop. And I felt for the mom too, because she seemed a little
the mom
stuck.
Was like,
like she was just sitting off to the side.
Because the mom's like stuck in the middle. Like the mom was literally the mom's like always. And Paul said like his whole family was accepting to him with open arms, except for the sister.
Yeah, which I think that's important to have that acknowledgement, like that his family was like very open, very accepting. I love that, but I think that made it all the harder because he was able to single out somebody that hadn't, because it was pretty obvious. And she said it wasn't about him being trans, but it was.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in some ways, I feel like this was a conversation that she's never had with him.
Yeah. I feel like they've done a lot of fighting and not a lot of talking.
Yeah, and I feel like she's just basically kept her distance from him since this all happened. And how
They
old
didn't
is she?
say.
Do you remember, or was it said?
They didn't say, but if they're going off of, and it seems like they are going off of regular ages of the actors. What is Brian, like 38?
Yeah,
I feel like maybe
turned 38.
in the show he's a little younger, but I would guess that she's in her early to mid-20s.
Yeah, because I mean, so he said he transitioned at 17 when she was 9. So
there's an 8-year difference.
8-year difference. So I was just thinking, like, okay, so if you're 8 years older, so just say he's 30 and she's 22. You know, she's not really had a lot of time as an adult to really have a decent conversation, and he's been gone for like the last year, and he's been a firefighter. Yeah. He did. Don't know how many years?
Well, he did mention in the very first episode that he transitioned while being on the job, so we can assume that he may have went on the job when he was 18.
Yeah, probably. So I was just thinking, like, I feel like as much as this was hard and she shouldn't have kept saying sister, I think this was her breaking point to say, look, you see it one way, I see it this way, and if we can't even have a conversation, then I'm just going to bed. Because, I don't know, like, I feel like she needed to get that off her chest. And we also find out later there's, like, more going on with her health than we first let on.
Yeah, and I'll get to what I think about that later. But I get that, and I do, like, I don't hate the sister or anything. Like, she grew on me later. And I can understand that this was difficult. But it can be difficult without a lot of the things that happening.
Like,
right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if I'm just being closed-minded or what, but I felt very indignant, and I think that just hasn't passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not supporting exactly how she did it, but I definitely feel like she obviously needed to talk to him.
Oh, that was definitely a conversation long overdue.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, and I feel like that's kind of where we're at, was at least at this moment in the show, that she had to finally, she was finally done just avoiding him. Like, she was just like, okay, I got to get this out. And I think it gave Paul an opportunity to really see, and like he said later, you know, he's like, I didn't even know how to explain it, and I was 17. How am I, going to explain it to a 9-year-old?
Yeah, he didn't even really understand it himself.
Yeah.
I think the next part was funny, but like they're on a call. It was just like they were on a call. It wasn't really explained what the call is. It doesn't really matter. The funniest part of this whole part was Jen just casually being like, "Owen, that's some powerful stuff," and I died at that part. That was so funny. And like Owen does know what he's talking about, but he also doesn't, because he doesn't know that Jen knows. But it's so funny. And like then like Tommy's talking about like her new hire or whatever, and like then they're talking about how Owen's like, I told him the thing, and she's like, the pregnancy thing, he didn't take it well or something, and Owen's like, I thought at first, but he's been a little chilly, and she's like, I'm sure it's all in your head, and he's just like, way to hustle, son, and Tiki's just like gives him a look, and I'm like, oh my god, mood. Me.
Yep. And then
but honestly, that was
that's
so
chilly.
Out of the blue. Yeah, that's probably the look I had to give him too.
Yeah,
true.
But
and then the whole meat of this episode, the minefield.
The minefield.
Yeah.
Oh
I really
my
liked
gosh.
this call specifically. There was definitely some things where I'm just like, but like I really did like certain things. So basically these two brothers are their drone gets stuck basically in a minefield, so they have to go out and get it. It gets shot down from the guy because he's paranoid at the government, I believe he said, and he shoots it down, and then he tells them they're in a minefield, and he has like basically like bombs buried
Yeah,
something buried
go
in the
get
ground.
it.
I'm like, dude, really?
Yeah.
And the map's in his head.
He
And
blew.
right
Oh
after
my
that,
god! I was
boom.
not expecting him to blow up, and I was like, "Damn, that was good."
Like, I knew it from the promo that
Oh
he
yeah,
was
no, I
going
didn't
to.
pick up on that.
But I was like, honestly, you know what? That's what I would probably have been surprised if that didn't
And so,
happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like
Those things
they're
go that way.
basically like Owen's like, okay, well, I'll go out there with the new medic guy, Pierce, and Pierce is like, I'm not going and stuff like, and I'm just like, dude, like this is the moment where I was just like, okay, like you're not gonna like, why are you even here? Like, why did you sign up for the job if you're not gonna? Your whole job is to put your life on the line, and like there are people on the job that'll literally avoid going into calls, and I forget like the actual like they're like you literally just get ridiculed in the job if you can't even do your job. Like, why are you even here? Like, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, and like
It's
it
true.
harsh, but it's the way it should be. Because like I remember a little bit of a parallel, but the opposite situation in 911 was the earthquake, where Bobby was like, "You don't have to go in there. Like, I'm not ordering anyone to go there, and I won't judge you if you don't."
Oh yeah, this dude is basically like a docker. Like he doesn't want to like put himself.
Yeah,
exactly.
He takes the good calls. He takes the easy calls and does the bare minimum.
The record means
which we already knew that he wasn't going to go in there. But the best part of all of this is like Tommy being like, "I'll go in," and Owen's like, "That's insane," and the Pierce is like, "Well, but it wasn't insane when you wanted me to go," and TK's just like, "I'll go."
I think he must have been very frustrated by that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're out there to rescue these kids, and they're just standing there bickering over who's gonna go out there.
And the guy was so freaking obsessed with himself that he had to make that argument
and, like,
about
TK
himself.
Being like, I was a dual function FD medic in New York, all my certification.
I was not really expecting that, even though I know he's done some of the medical stuff before. But I'm like, okay, go boy.
I didn't really think about him being like dual functioning FD medic, just because it's just nothing that crossed my mind. But I did have a feeling that he did have like a medical background. I just had that feeling because.
Well, everyone has to be trained in EMT basics.
You have to like have at least basics. But like, I don't know. TK seems like the guy to like just like I don't know to be like that. I don't know.
Right. Well, and I mean, because like I know in my state, the majority of our fire departments, all firefighters are EMTs. That's like almost a requirement.
I think it is a requirement in a lot of departments.
Yeah, so like when a fire truck oftentimes a fire truck will go out to an emergency medical call.
Oh yeah, that's how it is here.
Available.
Yeah.
So they can stabilize the patient before the EMTs get there. So I think in New York, I think that's also the case because not all stations have a medic unit. Based out of them. So then, all the firefighters need to be trained in some way. And it seemed like Marjan also possibly could have had some EMT certifications as well. Because Judd in, I think 109 said like, well, you have the certification or something, right? You're certified. So I feel like...
Well, also, like in that one call with the racist lady, only Owen ducked out with not certified.
Yeah.
Everyone else. Even though Judd just
honestly, I feel like Owen just said that in that moment because, like, who wants to treat a racist homophobe?
Especially one that you know is lying. Which, granted, that's not really your call to make without medical substantiation, but you know what? It's TV.
No,
and I was just like,
I think that was like the whole point. So basically, like TK and Owen go out there and stuff, and like they basically have orange spray paint. Owen would spray paint a circle, jump into it, blah blah blah, until they could get close enough to the boys and stuff. And like then TK was doing the medical stuff, like blah blah blah.
It was gorgeous.
I was like, TK, you badass.
Yes. I was so proud of my boy.
God. And like, I don't know. I was like, especially seeing like TK see Ronan like hopping around. I'm just like, oh. It was just like, it was the best thing ever, and like seeing them like work together after like what seemed like forever. Like it seems like they're always working together, like in a way, but also like not. but like I just love this whole thing. And this was like
Yeah.
the scene was like, oh, like it was a lot better than I expected. Like I really didn't know what to expect, and like I don't know, I just really loved it.
Right. Yeah, it was really good. It was cool to see TK in action, and you know, him and Owen like hadn't really had the easy conversation just recently, so then to have them work together was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Even after everything. And then obviously after they treat the boys, and I was so proud of TK. Like he basically got the blood going and everything, and they, you know, had to do compressions to get the blood pumping in the kid's, you know, body, and you know, and then after that I love that Owen complimented him, and you know, but then TK turns around and is like, well, yeah, but you got us here.
Yeah.
So it was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good moment.
Like,
We
yes.
needed some more of those father-son times.
Yeah, like make them happen, Lone Star.
And then like shortly after that scene when they're back at the station, Pierce quits. Okay, yeah.
I was so
yeah,
happy
same.
when
Like
that happened.
I didn't really have. I didn't. Yeah,
like I knew it was
yeah,
coming,
like,
but
we all like had a feeling that this was going to end up this way, but like the whole like just how it all went down, like I was just like, okay, you need to get out of here, and like him being like basically the culture around here that you and Captain Strand like enforce is not for me, and Tommy's like, what culture is that? Cowboy culture. And
excuse me, you are.
Yeah, oh yeah, I saw that on Twitter today.
Yeah.
So, but I also didn't get that because, in my opinion, the 126 is not like what I imagine most stations are like.
Honestly, it's pretty multicultural.
And like, also, like, if you're thinking that you can just like stand there and just not do any hard work or not put yourself on the line, then you need to get out of here. You need to find a new job that isn't that, because you need to consider a career change, because this is not it.
Right.
Yeah, like, thank you for saving the woman from cyanide poisoning earlier, but we don't like you. Bye bye.
I feel like
they would have figured it out eventually. No, she still died, but you know. Yeah, it was definitely good to see the back.
And it was just like, and then he left, and he was just like, later or something like that, and like Marjan, and like,
Tommy's just like.
Then it was like it was just funny seeing how like Marjan, Mateo, TK, and Paul act. Like after he left, my favorite part was when Marjan was like, "Yeah, you should get his paycheck and yours for this week," and Mateo being like, "Yeah, you were a badass out there." I was like, "Yeah."
And this is where you can see TK considering.
Yeah.
He's like,
he was like, and like, he was so proud of himself, and he should be, okay?
He should be, honestly, I don't, to give a little bit of grace to anybody, our field isn't exactly in the everyday job description.
Yeah.
Even with first responder. So that is a scary situation to go into. And it's something you are allowed to feel scared going into. But you still need to be prepared to go into it.
I believe it was Owen that said it was Tommy that said, we don't pick the calls that we get. Or, because after him being like, oh, your last paramedic got hit with a lava rock. And I was like, well, obviously he didn't choose that.
That was not planned.
Exactly.
Nor was it particularly normal.
That was a...
Like, if you're worried about that, then maybe you need to give us some insider info on your knowledge of, like,
because disasters.
If we need to prepare for another disaster.
And then, in the, like, end of the scene, Paul gets a call from his mom. It was like, my mom's in the hospital. And I was just like, okay, I didn't, like, suspect anything right away, but I knew his mom wasn't the patient.
Okay, I wondered what was going on, because we've seen tons of promo pictures with Paul by his sister's bedside. I was like,
that's what got
okay,
me.
are they both in the
hospital? Not the mom. It's just like too off and stuff. And this is when we learned that his sister has MS.
Can I just put out
go
my
for
pet peeve with this?
I'm here for it.
Sure.
It felt like they put it in there to extend a lifeline to her.
Yeah, I felt that.
Like to extend an excuse to her.
Yeah.
And please, I'm not saying anything against people with MS, because this is nothing about the disease. This is something about the fact that it was her, and it just felt like they were trying to excuse her. And so, like, I feel for her, because that is a really hard thing to live with.
Yeah.
And obviously Paul did not know.
Yeah.
But I think just the fact that they put the storyline in there, I was
didn't care
pissed at.
that like they put the storyline in there too much because I don't really care about his sister really because it's not really anything that really it affects Paul, but like it doesn't really affect major storylines, if you know what I mean, and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and really, even just in that episode, all it really affected was the fact that like they were going mountain climbing when his mom had a heart condition.
Right.
And so, like, that was the only thing it really, like, explained. And, like, okay, I can get, like, trying to knock something off your bucket list before you were no longer able to do it.
I know a few people that have had MS, or have it, and some of them have passed away, but, and stuff. And it's a terrible, like, illness, but, like, just, like, some parts of this I didn't like. And I, honestly, going back to like when they first showed up, I lived in a different state, let's just say state at this rate, than my family, and they just showed up. I think I'd be a little irritated. I know Paul's happy to see them and everything, but like, I don't know, that's just how I am. It's just a little weird.
Yeah, I think it would really depend on, I think it would just depend individually, but...
Yeah.
It definitely is a shock.
I did, like, she kind of, like, I'm not gonna say I really liked her at this moment, but I think she redeemed herself a little bit. And my favorite Paul line is in this scene when he says, "I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to say bye to your big sister, but I didn't kill her. She never existed." I was like, yes, Paul, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. And yeah, I agree, she did redeem herself a little bit. And I think since she wasn't deliberately trying to antagonize him, because that's what the rest of the episode had felt like so far, like her not caring how she was treating him or that she was antagonizing him or anything, but them able to actually like talk this out was like, okay, I can see her a little more clearly, even if I'm still not necessarily happy with her. Yeah, but I understand it a little bit more.
If I was in this situation, like, I don't know, like, I don't even want to put myself in that situation, but, like, I'm just happy that Paul, like, said his word, and, yeah,
he stood up for himself while being understanding of his sister, and I'm like, you know what, same. I think that's more than I could have done at that time.
My point is that you should never, like, some people will, some trans people will, like, they will choose, like, a name that's close to a dead name just to make other people happy, but you shouldn't have to, like, bend down for other people. You should do what you want to, which is why I'm happy that Paul said his word and that Paul made it clear that she never had a sister. Like, he was always a boy.
Yeah. He was born biologically female, but he was never a girl. I was just glad, you know, as you said,
exactly.
I'm just glad
like, that was such a power. That was like, there are two really powerful lines for me. One from TK in this episode, one from Paul, and that was one of them. So those are like the ones for me.
You know, and then I love the group hug at this. Like that scene, like the mama hugging her kids, and I was like, I love that mama. Like, oh my gosh.
I hope they come back later.
I hope so.
Or some other time. I think
I would really love to see a more a visit with less or little to no tension.
If they can physically do that, I will be here for it. I do too.
I want
Mama
Strickland back.
Oh yeah,
I stand Mama Strickland. Let's just be honest.
I love her from the second I saw her. I was just like, oh, I love you.
I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Tommy finding a new medic.
So she called Nancy in on her day off to go through the resumes again.
Poor Nancy. Now they need like two.
Poor Nancy. Oh, that's pretty much. Honestly, like getting your I have the weirdest like minor fears, and like that's one of mine is like getting run over. That's a whole other story, but and like so they're like flipping through resumes, and the funniest part. This was when Nancy was like, they should put all like their annoying quirks on there, like annoying gum chewer, this and that. And I'm like,
and then Tommy stops and like looks at the one she's got in front of her, turns it to Nancy, and they both kind of exchange these glances.
And like, if anyone has been paying attention to like Ronan spoiling everything and everyone else spoiling everything, they know what they're seeing. But it was
Yeah,
still the way they played out.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
That was, I'm like, whoa.
if you saw this after Ronan started speaking, then you knew. But like, I saw this way before that.
Like, Ronan, you put out your own thing about
I
spoilers,
think it's
but yet
'cause-
you spoiled things.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
main
I get
thing. He
it,
was
he's
very
excited,
excited,
but-
and like he said it, I believe, even before the aired on the West Coast. And I think he's just anticipating that if you're not watching the episode, that you're not going to go on Twitter. But I'm like, Ronan, can you at least give us? Yeah,
Ronan,
can
we
you
still
at
get
least
the
give us 24?
notifications. Ronan, if you're listening to this, we
Yeah,
get the
I mean, I have
notifications.
already.
Please stop.
Like, by the time he always says things, I have already seen it. But like, other people haven't. Can you at least give us 24 hours minimum?
Yeah, like me and EJ, we can't watch it till Tuesday.
Right.
Well, for her, it would be midnight your time, right?
Oh yeah,
because it comes
Yeah,
on 3 mine.
Yeah, I stay up till midnight and watch Lone Star.
I'm usually
anytime
up
I
until
want.
3, but I know that if I watch it when it comes out at 3, I'm not going to get to bed. And it always comes out Tuesday morning, which is when I have an 8 a.m. class.
Tuesdays?
Oh,
yeah, Tuesdays
bummer.
I have to wake up at 6 and at least for the next couple weeks. So yeah, I'm watching the episode when it airs. I don't care if I'm tired. If I'm tired at work, I'll be like, listen, Lone Star was on last night. If you don't know, you don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I want to see this so bad some days. But anyways.
Alright, so back to the Tommy and Owen.
Basically brings like the resume to Owen, and like, you know it's TK, but like, so the way she explained it, I loved it. She was just like, a new candidate just came across my desk, 7 years of experience, high grades in his PAT, top marks in agility, and multiple commutations of valor with another one on the way. And I was just like, damn, boy, like you, like he had
I've never heard anything really of what he was like in New York, and it's
I didn't expect,
damn,
I expected him to have like a lot of like a decent amount of experience, but I didn't expect like 7 years of experience. Like, and I'm like that person. I was like, I wanted to read his resume. I wanted to see what was on there. I'm such a like nerd like that. I was like, I want to know what was on that sheet of paper. I tried pausing it and seeing if I could read it. It was blurry.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's all I could make out.
I
was like,
in the
image. Please, can I read TK's resume? Do you have a copy somewhere? Me asking, hey, you have a copy somewhere. I would be that person. I don't even care. Yeah, and then like Owen, the best part of that was like Owen being like, sounds like a unicorn. What's the issue?
Yeah. So he's like, what's the issue? Tommy turns it around. Like, he's your son.
I loved Owen just going like, he sounds like a unicorn. I gotta say though, Owen, how did you not put it together? He must know all the stuff his son's got.
Yeah.
But I guess he just it never occurred to him. So he just didn't think to put the links together. Even though it must have seemed very obvious afterwards.
That sounds familiar. I have a son that has 7 years experience. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So like at first I was like, how did you mess up? But then like at the same time, okay, like kind of understandable. So
then we get the TK and Owen, like the last scene they had together, and I mean, partially I love some parts of this. I mean, I think this was probably like better than their earlier scenes, but basically TK's like fixing the truck from when he, ran into he explained it the way I would explain it, the whatever thingy. Yeah, that's how I would explain it. And Owen's like, it's a bollard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
TK's like, oh, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's what I would do. And a lot of people pointed this out, which I now think is funny. The part where TK was like Owen was like, oh, yeah, I heard you're looking for new captain.
I'm like, I had looking.
Yeah, but
okay, are they both
him being
an
like,
abandonment
you want to tell me what this is going on with you? And TK being like, look, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to jinx. I didn't know if Captain Vega would offer me a job, and a lot of people, which I never thought of this, a lot of people were like, TK said jinx with the 911 episode. Did they do that?
I literally was just
I was like, oh my god, I didn't even notice that.
If they did, then that's hysterical, which I would like to note. That episode is one of my favorites to date.
Yes. Yeah.
That was such a hilarious episode.
And like, Owen basically telling him he's like an outstanding candidate, and he's like, so you're mad? He's like, I'm not mad, I'm surprised, a little stunned. Look, TK, is this really what you want? And TK's like, I think so. And then like Owen's like, and it's not an emotional reaction you're having because of something I might have said. And TK's like, emotional reaction? What, like a tantrum?
Emotional reaction? What, like
I
a
did
tantrum?
not say tantrum.
I'm like,
I
he's like, no, Dad, I'm not having a tantrum.
Yeah,
Again,
when I
that
watched
word
it the
used, not
second
the
time,
word
I had to
used.
rewind that a couple times because I just thought that was so funny. I was like, tantrum, tantrum, tantrum. And I'm like, honestly, I get that. And he's like, again, a word I never used. I know things seem overwhelming. He's like, yeah, well, they kind of do. And Owen's just like, oh,
I
yeah.
love TK on this because he's being blunt.
Yeah.
Like, he's
My
he's
favorite
putting
line
himself
in
out
this
there. He's like,
whole thing is like TK being like, yeah, but you're overwhelmed with joy, which is great, and I'm just overwhelmed. But that's not new. In the past, I'd cope with these feelings in a pretty unhealthy way, So instead of calling a paramedic, I'm thinking of becoming one. That's got to count for progress, right? And I'm like, oh, yes. The thing for me with that is like, okay, when I knew the paramedic thing was coming, and I wasn't fully against it, but I also wasn't for it. And when I heard his exclamations, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And since like watching this episode, I've seen it probably like 3 times so far. I've like every time I watch it, I think of something new, and it makes me look back on like just him in the past and how much of progress this is, and how this doesn't really change him wanting to come back to the 126 after being shot, and how like this doesn't really change him as a first responder. I guess he'll be doing like a different part of the job, but it doesn't mean that it's anything less than that.
And he's still going to be part of the fire fam, and like honestly, I was against it. And I was pretty mad when I got spoiled, had it spoiled. And it wasn't even something I wanted. Because maybe if it had happened, like, in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Or 2. Maybe even the next. But right after they'd established that, like, he liked being a firefighter, I was like, oh, come on, you're changing it up again.
I mean, looking back at that moment in episode time, like, I don't think it was fully about being a firefighter. I think it was mostly about just being part of that family and doing that job, so.
Yeah, I've heard that analogy.
Yeah, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, he's still going to be, I don't know, I feel like a paramedic might be more up his alley than a firefighter in a way, because firefighters just pull them out of the wreckage sometimes and get them to the paramedics. And TK wants to make a difference. He wants to help people. And so I feel like paramedic might be more up his alley, and it doesn't mean he won't be on the truck with them. He just will be more medic than firefighter, but he probably will still step in if something happens and they need help.
He's probably still going to have a little bit of a dual role. Well, as I was saying, I didn't like it at first, but the episode made me like it because I liked how they went about it.
Oh no!
I was expecting them to kind of flunk on that too.
Like so much. If I'm being honest, so much faith in like that, but also it's also like I had a very hard time with being mad about the storyline with how excited Ronan is about it.
I know. Honestly, I was like, even if I don't like it, I'll keep my words myself simply for him.
Yeah, I do like it,
but. I do like it, and I'm like, I am surprised that, like, in case no one has realized yet, I am very stubborn in my opinions. But I was a little surprised that I was that easily swayed. But also, I was afraid that they were going to do something ridiculous, because, let's just be honest, I hold little faith in Lone Star creators right now, just because of all the things that make them look like they're, like, on drugs. But... like, I know they're going to turn out a good thing, but, But I was expecting it to be some sort of, like, wacky reasoning. Like, oh, he was... I don't know why, but for some reason, like, I had something in my mind, like, oh, like, he's becoming a paramedic to take care of his mom if anything goes wrong or something like that.
That would have been
if
stupid.
They do that, I am going to be mad. I don't know why that, like, crossed my mind. I don't remember if I read it somewhere or something, but it just crossed my mind. I'm like, I hope not.
Because some people say the darnest things and the most stupid things. Like, I've read so many things this past week that I don't even want to vocalize publicly because they're just so dumb that I don't even want to put that out there.
Yeah. You know, so, yeah, basically overall is
Yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing what's happening because, like, now that it's, like, had time to fester, I'm like, okay, I can actually really see this. And, like, as one of you, I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, but as one of you said, like, he likes saving people, like, he wants to make a difference. And sometimes the firefighter angle doesn't always bring that.
Yeah, because, I mean, firefighters, they're all first responders. I mean, they all have amazing jobs. It's just...
And they're all heroes.
Right.
They're still saving people.
Yeah, and so, you know, and it's just as important for some, like, the firefighters to be able to get the person out of the burning car, but it takes another person to rescue that, like, physically, like, help treat them.
Actually, I'm going to make a little bit of a parallel here, because if you'll remember, towards the end of season 2, Maddie was struggling with not knowing the end, like, what happened. Because she was like, there was the one call of somebody's brother was going to be attempting suicide. And, like, she never knew what happened until, like, towards the end of the episode. And I'm like...
Yeah.
I thought it was the beginning of the next one or something. But I'm like, honestly, there is a bit of a parallel in there because at some point, the middle, there's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And for many first responders, because of their different jobs, they're not around for all of
like,
it.
it's still going to be at the point where, like, TK experiences, like, dropping up the hospital, maybe never finding out what happens. But, I don't know. I'm, like, interested to see what happens, and I definitely think, like, this will, like, bring, like, they're trying to, like, kind of create more storylines for the paramedic team, where in season 1, like, you kind of saw different things, but you didn't really see, like, anything outside of, like, personal, or, like, it was kind of just, like, the calls. And honestly, this thought crossed my mind the other day, like, way before season 2 was announced, Roden went off about how he just wanted to have a solo, or a scene with Liv Tyler, because he was in scenes with her, but he never got to have, like, dialogue with her. And just imagine if she was on the show right now, how happy he would have been. I thought about that the other day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I have faith that if he's excited, I'll be excited. It's gonna be...
I don't know. Like, I don't really want to say if, like, I'm intrigued, like, and stuff, and I'm, like, excited to see what they do with it and what it might bring for, like, other parts of his life, but that's that. And then, like, close out Paul's family, we see Paul, Marjan, and Mateo helping fix the RV, and like, basically Paul and his sister kind of, like, talk things out for one final time. You kind of see that they patch things up, and Paul's just like, well, it doesn't matter, like, I know I can't be there with you, but just FaceTime me or whatever. And I'm like, oh my god. And, like, this is the point where I got where it's like, okay, I like his sister. She's not my favorite person, but, like, I can get a liking for her for when she comes back, or the family comes back.
This was the point where I was able to acknowledge, okay, she's growing on me, and I would not be upset if she came again, because they patched things up. But she's still not my favorite person, but, like, at this point, I'm, like, able to extend a little more grace to her or something, just because I'm like, okay, I think I understand her a little bit better now.
Yeah, that's the main part of that.
And if he's happy, and he can forgive, then it's his battle. Not us.
Yeah. And I liked how Marjan and Mateo and Paul were kind of all helping. And like Marjan saying,
that. Oh, she's like, I told you it was the carburetor.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
I bet she knows how to drive the truck.
Yeah.
I just thought of that.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah.
And then we didn't really talk about the last part of Owen and TK's conversation, and I think that was pretty monumental. Because TK shared with his dad that he's kind of jealous that his brother or sister is going to get a chance to have his parents together.
Which I'm starting to think that might not happen. But also at the same time, it's like, honestly, I can understand. Right. And that's better than I think many other reasons a lot of people have come up with. Yeah. But that's very valid.
That he was a little jealous. I was like, okay, I understand that completely, and I stand by that. But I'm, like I said earlier, I'm glad they didn't make into this whole thing that he was, like, angry, because I would just be like, really pathetic of him, and I'm sorry, TK, you're way better than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved like how Owen was like, you'd be an amazing addition to any captain's team. And if it's really what you want, I'll support you. And, which kind of goes back to the conversation and the Owen had with him in episode 9 of last season.
Yeah.
When TK came to the office to talk to him. And I love that. And Owen was like, yeah. He obviously did make it, it's like, it is kind of weird that my dad's having, a kid. He's like, it's not that weird, but he says more weird for me to have a sibling at my age.
Because he can be the parent.
Yeah. But like Owen said, he's like, any kid's going to be lucky to have you as a big brother. And so I love that moment, and I love that they had that conversation because I feel like it was needed.
I feel like they themselves patched some invisible fractures up, and some slightly visible fractures, because it doesn't feel like they've been on the same page for a while. I feel like they finally got on the same page a bit.
Yeah, and they still have some fixing to do, and I think Owen needs to work on some stuff with his son, but moving forward, I think TK and him, and I think it'll be good for TK to have a little distance between his dad, not because they need it, but just absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
So having TK answer to Tommy more frequently now is going to give Owen less maybe stress, that having to keep an eye on his son, and maybe a little less stress for TK. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
But I don't know. I liked the last part of that. The whole scene was amazing, and I'm really glad we got a TK Owen.
Yeah.
Now if we could just get like a semi reasonable scene with Owen or Gwen and TK,
yes,
that would be cool.
And
just the two of them.
I want more Owen and TK solo scenes.
Yep.
Like Gwen is not just gonna start.
I don't know. Anyways, I'm just gonna this fits into this part, so it's fine. I have so many issues with the ultrasound. Okay, like I just need to go off, but like this, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend this is very unrealistic, because like 4 people with the ultrasound tech would not be in one room right now. Okay, like that kind of bothered me a little bit. I was just like, oh,
there are so many. Realistically, there are so many families that have had to miss out on ultrasounds because the father, could not be in the room.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, now they've got the son and the father.
I understand they're just trying to give us this moment, but like, yes,
and also,
okay, so
time period. The gender can be defined at from 16 to 20 weeks,
right?
Which means that she would have had to have been around 4 to 5 months.
Oh yeah, that's what
pregnant.
I said.
She is not showing that much. Which, granted, she was laying down
and wearing sweaters.
Granted,
wearing sweaters. But still, she should be showing.
Like, okay, like you do not find out the gender this early. If you do, you can find out the gender. I believe it's 10 weeks by blood, but it's not very accurate. You're lucky if it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, blood is the most accurate,
I feel like
but
they were
not
just
at that
really
stage.
pushing for there to be like gender, and also I thought of episode 9, and I was like, does gender really matter?
Yeah.
Like Paul, imagine Paul finding out. Yes. He's just like, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Yes, exactly. And like, honestly, I think that would have been...
we don't need this right now.
That could have waited another few episodes. But I feel like they had to put it in this one. And like, we can talk about that at some other point, but I just kind of feel like
if
there was not going to be another episode to put that in.
Oh yeah.
I have my theories as to why that was set down.
Like they definitely did this for a reason. And I will admit, I have been very tense this whole baby thing since the beginning, since it was dropped. And I will say, when TK was like there and like he was like, "Hey, little brother, I'll see you soon," I kind of warmed up to the idea of there being a sibling. But I still reserve my thoughts that I don't think any of this is going to end well.
So I have I have one problem with that line. And it's not the line itself, because I think it's adorable. But because this is like reality TV, who just says that in the middle? Just him saying that to nothing, not even really looking at his mom who's the baby's son. I don't know, there was something that irked me about it. I think it was just the fact it was said out loud, but also how... Does anyone understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He was looking at a video screen of the ultrasound.
He was
displaying the ultrasound, so he was looking at the baby's ultrasound.
No, he was looking
on the screen.
It looked like he was looking towards the door.
Yeah, it was literally right above his head.
I didn't
they,
see
like, showed
the
it,
screen.
and then they showed TK's face. But, like, the thing is, like, okay, like, my thought with this is, like, well, he was talking to the baby, obviously, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think
Probably
just realistic. I'm as someone who would not say something like that aloud unless I was like actually alone. I'm like,
Yeah, it's a little odd, but it was cute. And I think
it was really sweet.
Yeah,
overall,
it was. And I think I'm glad he was there. Like, I'm glad Owen and Gwen included him on that. Because
can we discuss something real quick? If the gender was able to be defined, we're talking 16 to 20 weeks.
Yeah.
They probably told him.
They probably waited for the second trimester because it was high risk.
With that.
That's understandable.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Katie mentioned that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very common.
But at the same time, I don't know. We don't have a timeline. Yeah. But just focusing on when it is. I don't know. Yeah. I was just like,
I don't know. Like, if we're assuming that she's somewhat in the second trimester, like, I don't know how far along we're assuming she is. Well, at least in the second trimester, like I said. But, like, I don't know otherwise how far along we're assuming. Like, if she's 12 weeks, which I highly doubt. But also, I'm very confused with this because she is hardly showing. I don't care if she's laying down. If you're like around 20 weeks, you're gonna look pregnant even when you're laying down because that's a halfway mark,
right? And honestly, and that tech, unless that was a doctor, legally could not even tell them, because the doctor was a guy in the last episode.
So, like, did they switch or what?
I don't know, because normally ultrasound techs can't give that information.
I don't know, like. Yeah, like, I also, like, I don't know about this. I'm so confused. Like, my thoughts are just piling up. Like, I'm like, I don't know how far along she is. I don't know about this. I don't know about that. Like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Hopefully in the next few episodes we'll get a few more questions answered.
Yeah.
But, But this scene was really good. This episode was really good. I loved all the TK and Paul content. We got to learn a little bit more about each of them, and
despite all my pain in here on various different people,
I loved
different stuff. I loved this episode.
Yeah, me too.
Yes,
and like I loved the development we saw, especially in TK and Paul, but like some elaboration on Judd and Owen himself, because we got a few. Thanks. And I definitely think this was a very good one, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Loved TK, loved the Paul stuff. Yeah, definitely loved this all. I feel like, also I have to say this, like, it was a solid episode, minus the lack of Carlos, the 0 scenes of Carlos. I wasn't really...
I know.
Yeah.
I think people have blown that up into something.
People are making...
Which,
yeah,
way beyond where it should have been taken.
It's
but
not,
I am disappointed.
Like, okay, I have many feelings about it. It's not like sometimes I think people like to make things bigger than they need to be. And yes, it was like disappointing that he wasn't in this episode at all. But I feel like if he was in this episode, like, okay, the only thing that I probably would have wanted to see is maybe like TK going home to Carlos after finding out about the baby.
I just want him to be put in the doghouse after the mind
peeled. I don't think adding Carlos into this episode, unless it was for like a home scene, really would have done much. So, like, I'm okay.
Right. Honestly, it would have been nice, but I don't think a lot was taken.
Exactly my thoughts.
Like, away from the episode.
Exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
We want to see Raphael in the episodes.
Of course.
Yeah,
in this episode, I'm okay with it, but I'd rather like have my mom go play it out. In my head.
So that was like the. Yeah,
I could probably write it better.
Yeah. So that was like the most common thing people said was like more Carlos. Otherwise, not a bad episode. And I'm like, okay, and like need more TK and Owen. Some people are not a fan of Pyramid TK, which is basically where we were all at. But like people are people are proud of him and his growth, and people liked how this episode was like the past season, which I agree about. And they liked TK and Judd, and that was like the common consensus, I guess. Basically.
So they liked the chapters coming out
like
of here
us.
and wanted more. You know what? I think that's just about right.
The promo. Okay, so we have Owen basically being like, I'm ready to start a new life with you and this baby, and I'm just like, whatever, I don't care.
I honestly feel a little sorry for Owen because I feel like he's a lot more head over heels
so hard
than Gwen is.
I have a feeling
there's something, and we get a little bit of a hint of this later.
I still
and obviously
feel like
promos are made to look more dramatic.
Yeah, no,
but
right,
something's coming along.
He's gonna get so heartbroken.
It's going to break him. I'm pretty sure.
He's putting Mark.
We're calling it. We're calling it.
He's like, I
watching a few episodes.
I don't think we're wrong.
Yeah,
seriously.
But honestly, I don't think
Owen's
we are.
putting
I
basically his whole life on the line for his new addition to his family, and stuff. Yeah,
the
exactly.
Re-addition of an old.
Yeah, and then we see a funeral be crashed by a body in the sky, and we see Carlos with the 126, and I'm so excited about that. I saw somebody screenshots on Twitter of like a frozen Carlos. That's like literally how quick of a glimpse it was. We know. Okay,
we get it. Like, that's something at least.
Then, basically, it looks like this could potentially. I mean, this is just my head working, but this looks like it could. Well, no, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't thinking.
What are you thinking? Please.
The post says
I'm dying.
Like some little pink fingernail was holding out, and I'm like, wait, was this a murder? And I don't think this is it, but that's where my mind just went a second ago, and I'm like trying to talk to myself in my head, like, no, this is not it, but it is.
So here's something. Another parallel. If anyone remembers in What's Your Grievance on the original 911, there was a murder investigation because of there was a broken fingernail involved in that too, that was red. And I'm seeing so many parallels between What's Your Grievance and the little snippet with the fingernail and like the body and everything. I'm like, well, that wasn't actually a murder. Spoiler for anyone who has not watched it. That was not actually a murder, but maybe this was. I'll be honest, like, my mind is going to murder, but
yeah, like when I wrote,
who knows? There could be so much else going on.
I was not thinking that, but that just popped in my mind, and I'm like, wait, no, Katie, that's not right. But maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't know what another explanation
I'm like,
would
wait, no,
be.
should I even say that? No. and then like the most important part, well, not important, but like the last major part of the promo is Gwen being like, we need to talk, and I'm not gonna lie, my mind went to the baby is not his, which is pretty much very impossible.
I don't see it, honestly, but I think a lot of people are thinking that, or at least some people are thinking that.
It crossed my brain,
but
it's not. It's not like I actually believe it. I think it's more like maybe like she doesn't know like if they can do this or something like that.
Honestly, the air that was around her in that little bit, I'm thinking something's happened to the baby. Maybe she came back from an appointment and they're not able to detect fetal heartbeat. Yeah. Or I'm thinking the baby passed.
Yeah, I'm thinking
just because that's the vibe I got. I don't feel like she's going to be running out while there's still a baby.
People think that she's going to have the kid and then go back to New York. I'm like, that's not going to happen. That's ridiculous. But also, I think that maybe she wants to talk because she wants to go back to New York with this baby and she wants him to come with, which is never going to happen.
Ultimatum!
Like, I don't think that's
which is what I said.
Like, I don't think Owen's obviously not going to go. They're not going to, like,
I don't think so.
No, that's not.
I feel like he'd struggle with that
like
decision,
as
I don't think
TK and Owen that we've been getting recently, TK, Owen's not gonna leave TK because like he's just not gonna do it. Even if TK is in the best hands, which is Carlos, by the way, that's not gonna happen.
Carlos! Honestly, I feel like we're going to come back next week and just be like, okay, so who was right?
Yeah.
It's going to be something completely different.
I feel like we're
probably going to be something completely different. Let's be honest.
I have faith.
I feel like a lot of our predictions are right.
I just
but
can't
not everything. But
Grace. I have faith. I literally said that. And I thought that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then something that we all literally died over this morning is these stills we got of Carlos.
Oh my gosh,
where I saw them, I died. I literally texted to you guys. I was like, oh my god. I was dying.
Yes. The babies!
Mind you, I was still in bed. I hadn't gotten up yet.
I'm like
literally like, what is she talking
you should
about?
be.
I'm looking like, oh, I'm awake now.
First of all, and I'm looking,
Yeah.
we have the photos in our notes. I'm looking, can we remark on the boys' biceps real
Yeah.
quick? Because they be looking fine.
I like the color blue.
Okay, I'm done.
So basically, they're TK and Carlos are laying on Carlos's couch, and in one picture, TK's basically all in Carlos's arms and stuff, and Carlos has his arms around TK. Carlos is wearing a blue shirt. It looks very fine. TK's wearing, I love that color on him. It looks so freaking good.
Nice.
TK's wearing like a white shirt with what looks like to have like very floral print, but very like light.
A floral print.
I'm blind, so I can't see.
With only
Those
like
are flamingos.
Maybe
I think
it's definitely flowers.
It's
I just put my
flowers?
computer to my
coin
screen,
toss.
or to my. I put my computer to my face. It's flowers. Yeah, it looks.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm seeing the lines.
It's very
petals.
faint, and I love it.
But
and
it's
like,
very,
TK
it's very
is
nice.
Literally
Looks
me,
very
like TK. Yeah. Some people pointed this out. They're like, Carlos has socks on, TK doesn't, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a TK.
Honestly, I'm more of a Carlos.
Me too.
But only because I get cold feet.
I'm sorry. That's why.
So.
What kind of cold feet?
No, see, like,
Yeah.
I'm wearing socks right now, so I really sound like such a hypocrite, but over myself. But
Same.
I am a TK because I can't sleep with socks on, and most of the time I don't have socks on. But I am ready for this scene. I'm ready for it.
I know. I cannot wait.
And then it looks like they're in this picture. They're talking, and I'm like, don't keep it to yourselves.
Predict, and I am almost certain, because in this episode, basically Gwen moves into the Strand household, and I think that TK's moving out with Carlos, and I literally
TK's moving out. Well, let's be honest. He probably can't listen to his parents going at it anymore.
Also, isn't that house only like a 2-bedroom? So they're gonna be running out of room.
I think so.
Which granted, they're not.
No, but
Gwen
like,
and Owen are going to be sleeping separately, but
like maybe not within.
Yeah, true.
The room.
True. Like I really feel like there might be a move-in thing, and I'm hoping for the move-in thing, even if I feel like it's maybe a little soon.
Yeah. So the episode.
But it's not
like they're very
soon.
they're decently. I mean, I feel like they're pretty secure in their relationship, and he keeps his vitamins there. Might as well just move in.
I love how the main point for
and that's
the
my
argument for
argument
moving
always.
in is
The
the
vitamins
vitamins.
are there. His shoes are there. That's all. And he's taking up Carlos's closet. Might as well just move freaking in.
Yeah, and there's been enough time between episodes and before the season started, like storyline. I think it's a good thing if they
it's
move in.
Yeah, love that. I felt like I just
love that.
Yeah, I had to go off about that because I love that.
Okay, here's the hoping, y'all. Okay.
Well,
that I didn't notice
Ronan
until somebody on
has an
Twitter
earring
pointed
in.
it out, and I was like, you have to really.
Honestly, I'm not able
You
to
have
see
to really
the earring.
look close.
When he's sitting up,
You can see it in the second picture, but in the first, I can't see. Yeah,
I see what might
also
be an
thought
earring,
that
but also
too,
could just plain
so
be
I
his
get
ear. Yeah. Either way, like I love their styles because their styles are represented so perfectly, just as Ronan and Rafa, but also as TK and Carlos in this photo.
We've joked about this before that like Ronan probably just brings his own clothes, and I think it's the same because like they literally their styles are pretty spot on for real life. Like honestly.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Can we get Carlos wearing glasses? Can I just
please?
Please, yes.
I would love for them both to be
very,
in glasses at one point. I'm just so for that. That's like my number one turn on, so I'm here for it.
Usually I don't care, but like Rafa and glasses. Let me just say.
Oh yeah,
I've
I
never
can
seen
pull.
Ronan
I would have to
glasses.
really
Has he
dig,
have
but I
Ronan
have a
glasses?
picture somewhere, a really old one of him wearing glasses, and it's everything.
Just in my mind's eye,
I'll
it
do a
looks so
hunt.
cute. Send it to me if you find it. Thank you. All right, so much coming up in the next episode. I think this is the first one I'm most excited for since the crossover. I've been excited for everything coming up, but I feel like this is like the most amount of excitement I've felt since
Like
the
I'm just
crossover.
excited. Like the fact, yes, exactly what I was just about to say. Because we
Partially
got
because of
all
these
this,
picks.
I was so excited. I was like, Monday cannot come soon enough, and I'm like strategically planning out my Monday. I'm being serious.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Yeah.
they're not going to drop any of this, so I don't know why I'm strategically planning out, but I'm still doing it. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. We are also on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and almost anywhere where podcasts can be found. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup.
You can follow me on Instagram at For Love of Tarlos and on Twitter at For Love of Tarlos.
You can follow me, Grace, at Ronan Rafa 911 on Instagram and at Sheepgirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302
Bye.
on Twitter and Instagram.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.